Welcome to the Future Is Freelance podcast, brought to you by Zolo, the operating system of the solo economy. Every week, we'll be serving up an audio cocktail of expert tips, inspired insights, and stories from the frontiers of freelancing to help you grow your borderless business to new heights and live life on your own terms. So kick back, grab a snack, and let's get started. Today we have a really interesting interview to share with you in conversation with Shlomo Freund from Israel, who is all about helping freelancers and other remote workers master their finances and financial planning. Now, don't touch that dial. You might not be exactly like Shlomo, who started his fascination with savings and investment at 8 years old. You might be more like me, tending to look the other way when it comes to this stuff and decide you've got plenty of time to sort it out tomorrow or some other time. But the truth is, we all have to get a grip on our money if we want to own or achieve anything at some point in the future. So we need to get over ourselves and get to grips with our income and investments. To talk about our aspirations, our net worth, and how we want to exchange our time for money, either actively or passively. They didn't teach us this stuff at school, so we have to learn it as adults. How to budget, how to save, how to plan. Shlomo works with clients individually and in groups to walk them through the different aspects they need to know in order to sort this stuff out, and to develop the long time preference mindset that will not only help you get what you want in the future, it will help you navigate the chaos and uncertainty of the present. Now, you can access all of Shlomo's valuable resources via the links in the show notes when you're inspired to sort it all out once and for all after listening to this episode. So, welcome, Shlomo. It's lovely to have you with us here at the Future Is Freelance.
Pleasure being here, Maya. Thank you so much for inviting.
Well, we're looking forward to digging into the work you do at Free Financial Self and unpacking this really important subject. But before we do that, I'd love to just dig a little bit into your background and discover how you ended up doing what you're doing right now.
Sure. So basically, I studied engineering in college after high school. So every engineer, their trajectory is to become a financial coach, of course. And this is how I ended up a financial coach. I'm kidding, of course. I'm pretty much a finance geek. I think from a very young age, I've learned, I'm reading the financial part of the newspaper first. That's what I did, I think, from age of like 8 or 9 or something like that. And I found out one day that there's this exchange rate between Israeli shekels and dollars, and that's in the newspaper every day. So I can have the 2-3 shekels that I have at my parents', and then I can exchange them to dollars, and then the next day I can exchange them back and make a few pennies. And some days I would say exchange it, then I saw the next day it wasn't actually that the good decision. So I told him maybe I can roll back. Anyway, that was my first trading. I still have that maybe yellow note somewhere. I need to find it. However, fast forward many, many years, about 5-something years ago, I had a partner taking over a company I built in China. It's a totally different story. I lived there for 3 years in Beijing, and I had the time, and I thought, oh, what I should do? And I had this love for, I'm investing since, 2005 or so. And I love traveling, and I kind of wanted to do a passion project of combining the financial part and the lifestyle travel part and kind of helping others do that. So it kind of, let's try this. It's something that I love to do. I love to help others. And over the years, when I invested in different things, people asked me about these things. So relatives and family. So then I turned it into a passion business, passion project. And this is where what Free Financial Self is. It's helping people. The title is Organizing Their Money to Reach Financial Freedom Faster. But financial freedom for everyone is different. It's basically aligning your finances, but pretty much aligned with your lifestyle goals, to have that alignment and have that in mind all the time, and not just the money part. That's an important part, but your life and your fun and the good things that you live for are also very important. You need to combine it together.
Brilliant. So you probably realized not long after 8-year-old that not everybody is like you in terms of this understanding and passion for money and investing. And in fact, some people are very, very different and not into this stuff at all. I love the idea that you're helping people organize an area of their life that they frequently shy away from. But I'm trying to understand, why are we so bad at this normally? Why have you got such a big market of people to help?
It's never urgent. People don't like to deal with that.
Right.
I mean, it's always tomorrow is better. And some people even don't like to look at their bank accounts. But I remember conversations I had with friends in college, and like, oh, you have so much money in your cash in cash on the in the bank. It's like, it's not invested. It's nowhere there. So it's kind of, what's going on? Actually, it was a little bit after college, but anyway, same point. People just will do it someday. It's there, and meanwhile, they don't realize they're actually losing money because of inflation and the lost opportunities of the compound interest over the years. So that's a lot of money they can save and invest, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's probably still badly taught in schools, and, unless people choose a professional education in finances. I don't know. I have a teenage daughter who's struggling with a math syllabus at the moment that's going to teach her all about calculus and trigonometry, and no clue about compound interest or what inflation's doing, what to expect. So is it any different in Israel, or is this a problem around the world, do you think?
It's a problem around the world, also in Israel. I think there are some changes. Okay, I can't think of any specific one right now, but I'm hearing here and there that there are different programs. However, it's not there yet. To be honest, it's really people are making bad choices all the time. We started since my daughter is around 4 years old, or 4.5. She's now 6.5, to give her allowance and help her with managing her money. She has a save, give, and spend jars where we give her allowance. Probably this month we're going to move to an Excel sheet because we can't keep up with all the coins. And about now 2 years after we've doing this, now I'm starting to introduce her the part that, okay, if you'll postpone this for a month, I'll give you, let's say, 5 shekels more. So kind of getting like the savings part, and that she can then compound that over time. So it's just a matter of putting this into your everyday life and starting teaching your kids about that. And if you have young kids, that's definitely something you should do. Every listener who does that, it's not that hard, and don't be afraid to talk about money with your kids. It's not a taboo. It's something that you need to do. It's part of life.
Yes, I love that. I love that you have a third jar for giving as well, and that you're encouraging that.
It's not my idea. It's from a book that I read. But yeah, I love that too. Yeah, definitely important.
Yes, it's kind of, I suppose, because I think one reason that people are sometimes find it difficult to talk about money, or they're self-deprecating about it, is it seems greedy or selfish. Whereas if you consider it another side of the coin of being able to be altruistic and spend that money by giving it to people and helping people, that's a lovely way of looking at it. Maybe, I don't know if that's a particularly British thing, but we seem to kind of don't want to talk about being financially successful, or what you could earn for something, or what you paid for something.
Being financially successful is a British thing? Isn't that a worldwide thing?
No, being reluctant to talk about it, being self-deprecating.
Yeah, it's kind of, lots of emotions and stuff. I get it. Yeah. Some countries more, some countries yes. In Israel, people are more loose about it, but they still maybe, I mean, you can go and ask someone, but it's still not a common thing. How much you make, you don't. It's like among friends, and that's okay.
That's interesting, but we're hopefully
some places
seeing these cultures converging.
Taboo. We don't do that.
Yes, don't talk about money. Well, hopefully these things are improving. And I know that you've developed a specialism of working with remote workers and digital nomads. And of course, it's much more interesting now we're free to work and live in different countries, but it must complicate things when you're thinking about savings, retirement planning and everything else. What are the particular issues that this group faces that you've come across?
So much more uncertainty. People moving more. They have bank accounts in 5 different countries, in 6 different currencies. And every time that they're moving to a new country, there's different costs. And if they're freelancers or they're entrepreneurs or whatever title you're going to say, and is not kind of a monthly salary, it's also fluctuating. So all that together is another degree of complexity to what others are having. And there are more and more people like that now, working remotely, and more and more of those are also can move around and want to move around, digital nomads, remote workers. So yeah, that's definitely a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big one, isn't it? The fluctuating income, because I guess with your daughter, you can say you've got a fixed amount each month for these different jars, these different categories in your life. But what sort of advice do you give someone then whose income varies wildly from one month to the next?
So most of it boils down to planning. So when I work with people, I help them first realize what their life goals are. Kind of really painting it very vividly, and then reverse engineer that to what they need to do today to save, invest in what assets to reach all these personal goals, the things that are really important in life. And when you do that, then you start to measure against what you're making and start to make some kind of a projection. And worst case scenarios, and then I don't want to go beyond that, and maybe some safety fund or things like that. It really depends on a case by case. But without the vision part, it will be very hard to see what you need to do or how to overcome things when things happen or when you have a period with no income, things like that.
Right. So you start at the top level, the strategic level of what do I want to do? What do I want to fund and afford?
Yes, it's not even so much about them. It's not so much about the money even. It's first of all about the life that you want for yourself. And then it's about the money. And then it's about, okay, I want to buy a house in 5 years and I need that and that money for a down payment. And you put in inflation. And so what needs to happen for you to save that money? I want to travel around the world in 7 years and that's going to cost that much. I want to get my not born yet child in 25 years to college, what I need to do for that. So you put even all those things in. Once you have all that and you keep on track with this, it's much easier. Now, I must say, yes, it's life. Things change, but at least you have this frame that you can work with and then learn how to change it instead of just winging it for the rest of your lives.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. Yeah, and it's what you're teaching your daughter from 4 years old, that if you have a plan and if you have that delayed gratification, you said you give her a little bit more if she doesn't spend. So you learn to have that longer time.
It's not always working where she's still 6 years old, but she makes her mistake and that's fine. That's okay.
Oh, yeah, there's lots of people much older than her who haven't begun to get their head around this stuff. So I know they're going to find your resources very useful and helpful. And I know that you provide spreadsheets and tools to actually help people model this as well, because I think this is the thing. People think, well, I could start saving for this, or I'd love to do this, but I don't know what's going to happen. And I don't know how those changes might affect me. So what's the point? So do you provide tools to help people say, well, what if inflation became this? Or what if this happened to my rent or whatever, so people can investigate that?
So I have a tool that that you can download on my website, which is helping you calculate your net worth. But this is just one part of the puzzle. The whole plan that I create basically takes into the account into inflation, and you can start doing different scenarios of what's going to happen, and also different life scenarios, saying more of I'm going to marry and have X kids, or I'm just going to not marry and just have fun all my life, two extremes, if you can say that. Or you can say, I'll have this, there will be this inflation and that inflation, or I'm going to retire in Thailand and I'm not going to retire in Manhattan, or I want to have a scenario for that. So you can start really see what's a good fit for you. And it brings an interesting conversation of prioritizing your wants, but also your needs. What's really important for you? And then people see, oh, what I thought is really important is actually not that much important. And this one is more important than the other one. But with this plan, you can clearly see if you go for goal A, B, and C, that maybe you cannot achieve D and F. And then what you do, you say, okay, D and F, maybe they're not that important. That's fine. Or you can say D and F are really important. Okay, what do we do maybe to get more income? How do we overcome this? So we start this whole conversation to get to those goals. That's how.
And you work with people individually. Is that how you? Because this is obviously really personal stuff, not just about the money, but about the really big life choices. So how do you work with clients?
So the main program that I do is a one-on-one, and the main one is between 3 months and 1 year. There's also a short one, which is between 1 to 2 weeks. And that's a one-on-one personally for you, personalized for you. However, I can serve so much people with the one-on-ones. Therefore, I also have an online course where I have the same materials, and that's of course not personalized, but you can go over the planning stage and do all that part by yourself. I'm currently working on a workshop with someone, so that's too soon to say, but it'll also be part of that. And I also have a monthly financial coaching group, and this is for people who want to share. It's not private, but there's still some. They still get the access to the course, and they come and ask questions. And what's special about that one is that I also every month share some of my experience on my finances and what I invest in and how I build my business. Specifically now, it's more about I invest in niche websites, so I show different strategies of how to grow that. So that's part of the monthly coaching group called the Free Financials. So there is really the main one is a one-on-one, of course, but it's much more expensive. The others are more affordable, of course. So whatever fits people, but that makes sense.
That's good. Well, it sounds like you're trying to find lots of different ways for people to get engaged with this area that they might have whatever hang-ups or reluctance, whether they work best in a group or they need somebody to really coach them and drag them through each stage of this if they know they need to do it, but they haven't done it. I mean, I'm the same. I'm a fintech journalist, but I still haven't downloaded your spreadsheet yet. I've looked at it. Oh, yeah. I know I need to get my head around all these numbers, and they're important. But as you said at the top, I don't have to do that today, do I?
Yes, and tomorrow you'd say the same thing.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. So obviously, the miracle of compounding means that tomorrow is never going to be as good as today. So how can we motivate people? I'm thinking especially about maybe the digital nomad community can tend to have a slightly short time horizon on these things, that it's thinking about where I'm going to live, this gig I'm working on now. How can we shift into that longer view?
Yeah, it's a matter of creating the different scenarios and estimating what you will do. It's not 100% precise, but it's the best that we can do for now. And maybe if you have a few places that you want to go to in the next 5 years or so, then maybe you can just create, I'm going to be here and I'm going to be there. So different scenarios actually solves the problem. It's more work, but if this is what you need for yourself, this is what you need for yourself.
Yeah, and if the planning of the travel and everything is work, which people happily do because they want to fulfill that adventure. So to do a bit slightly longer range planning.
I'm going to spend 20,000 on travel this year, and the next year it's going to be 30,000 or 10,000 or whatever. I start playing with those, and then build that plan.
Right. Okay, so makes total sense. And do you have sort of long-term accountability tools? Because I can imagine somebody coming to a workshop or doing doing a course and then thinking, yeah, I'm sorted all this. And then 6 months later,
they're not on track. So the one-on-one program that I mentioned, that's the 2.5 months is kind of an intensive program. However, when people choose to do a yearly one, then after you do this intensive one, we have a monthly meetings, building everything and seeing that you are on track. I didn't have yet people going for a second year, so I can't tell you if that would be successful or not. It makes sense, but again, it's an individual thing to choose.
Absolutely. I suppose at least in a year, people should be seeing the benefits, both in their spreadsheets, but also in their mind, hopefully, this sense of being a bit more across all this stuff and shaping their choices more consciously. I suppose I'm actually projecting forward to a year from now. No,
I'm actually now working with someone, and I'm working with her on 2 different scenarios for things that she wants for herself. And it's very interesting to really think of the different assets that are fit for her. So again, it's very individual. I have a talk I call How to Know What to Invest In. And this one, and the answer for that is it's individual. You need to go throughout the roadmap, know your vision, control your numbers, upgrade your financial knowledge. That's all the roadmap that I work with my clients, and eventually create that plan. And then you'll have the answers, what you need to invest in. But nobody can do that for you. You need to go through that process and answer that question for yourself. So she wants those 2 scenarios and then understand what she should invest in.
Yeah. I was trying to think of the questions I should and shouldn't ask you on this podcast. And I thought the one thing I mustn't do is say, so what should we all be investing in then?
I would answer the same question. You got it.
Thing. Yeah. Wrong question. Because I know that nobody can give financial advice on a podcast, and the Future Is Freelance.
I'm a financial coach.
Give financial advice to listeners. Go and talk to a financial coach.
A financial coach.
And get advice. You need individual, personalized advice for your own situation and scenario. I suppose if we could be more abstract about it, maybe thinking of the next generation or the people who are taking their first steps in freelance life, are there any categories of investment or asset that you're interested in for the future, or that you're starting to recommend and think about?
So the last 2 years, almost 2.5 now, I think. No, 2 years. I started investing in niche websites. So different content websites, now also looking into SaaS. It's been very interesting. The returns are great. It also requires work. Okay, it's not passive. However, it is a good business to have. And what's so appealing to me is that eventually anyone can find something that they love to do and work in that. So that's a perfect combination for what I'm preaching on. I now hold one website. It's not in a niche that I like, but still it's a good business and I enjoy working on it. However, when I find something which is appealing to me, just because one of my hobbies and things, so of course that's much better. So so for these websites, it's around, so cash flow is between 25 to 30% a year, something like that. But you need to reinvest some of that money back into the business. But then, of course, the valuation goes up. So you get into nice returns, can be 40, 50% a year, sometimes even more. It requires work. You need to know what you want to do. I don't recommend here go buy websites from anyone in the internet. There are different resources.
No.
I have a workshop if you want that I recorded on my website on this. But it's basically a whole, I can't say blue ocean, but almost blue ocean. There's enough for everybody.
That's interesting. Because when people think about investing, they're probably thinking about asset classes and funds and things like that. And they're also thinking, you mentioned the distinction there between active and passive income, that I would just like to put my money somewhere, it's going to magically grow, and I can sit on the beach and not have to make any effort or develop any specialist knowledge or stay on top of anything. So is passive income a dream that we're all chasing to our cost? Should we focus more on how we can leverage what we're active in and what we know?
So I think it's a cost there. You'll make less if you're passive. You'll make more if you're active, and it boils down again to the individual. What's a good fit for you? I didn't say that I don't invest in stocks and I don't and I have some ETFs. It's just a matter of diversifying and see what's the right fit for you. So some of my money I manage actively, some of it I manage passively, semi-passively. I don't think there's completely passive. And that's fine. That's okay. That's the way it should be. However, I do encourage people to take responsibility over the knowledge needed for that. Even if at the end of the day you decide not to manage your money, you still need to know what questions to ask and know whoever manages the money for you, because then you can save much more money and make much more money just by asking the right questions.
And the key is in the word "your money." You can't afford to leave it entirely to a fund manager or anybody to take 100%.
I'm afraid to say I trust myself. I trust only myself on this.
Yeah, no.
You're the one who cares most about your money.
Yeah. Nobody else is going to look after your interests as well as you do. And I love the way that you're helping people make sense of that, whatever they're doing and whatever their future plans involve. I think a lot of people are very anxious about money at the moment, and just looking at geopolitical events and the period in the immediate future, we can all think, okay, one day when I retire, I want to do this, I want to have the other. But they might be looking just at the next 12 months or so and thinking, what's happening to the world? What's happening to the economy? Do you have any particular advice or suggestions for people for getting through what might be a time of quite a lot of uncertainty?
So I wrote about it a few times on my blog because I share my net worth, how much it's up or down every month. And at the last 2 or 3 months, it was down and down again and down again.
Right.
And I keep saying there that it's about thinking long term and not being worried about those events happening. It's not that they're not worrying, but if you're thinking long term, I'm not talking 12 months, I'm talking about 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, compounded over time. I can't, of course, there are no guarantees, but it would probably not matter. So, because it's all averaged and compounded.
Keep your eyes on the horizon.
Yes, definitely. And keep doing what you're doing to save and invest towards your goals, and keep doing that. And yes, there are ups and also downs, of course.
I was just thinking about people who were very worried about the short term, and maybe they're seeing sources of income drying up, freelance gigs not hiring. Any suggestions for the immediate term to help people survive?
Well, I don't know how much
crisis?
the freelancers are also digital nomads, but we live in an era that you can just move yourself to a place where it's much cheaper and just do that. That's the first thing that you can do. So don't be afraid to do that, to become a digital nomad. I think as a freelance working on the internet, why not? And if you don't yet, you're a freelance who is not fully on the internet, you can probably turn this somehow to do something online or almost 100% online. And maybe it needs to be good enough for the period until things come back to be okay. So have that period, adjust, be flexible, then come back to the life that you had before. That's okay.
That's great advice for weathering any short-term crisis, like a medical problem where you couldn't work for a period or something. If you have an asset like a home, maybe you can make that work for you while you go and live somewhere more cheaply or different. That's great advice.
There are a lot of opportunities out there, different creative things that people do. And some people go and being in Israel, people become delivery people for Volt. I don't know if they're I don't remember which company. I think they're Finnish, so they have lots of people work on that here, and you see those scooters all around, and they pay quite well. Okay, so it's not going to be your high-tech job, but okay, you keep your freelancing 50%, you keep your 50% doing something else. It's not your dream job, fine, but that's okay.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. And exactly the same thing's happening in Europe that, the people can't rehire for public sector jobs and hospitality jobs because everyone's driving scooters for food delivery or packages or Amazon or
because they pay well.
But it shows people are being enterprising. Yeah, they pay well. And, it's hard work. But if you're young and fit and you've got transport, you might as well go and do that. And
yes,
I like that. I think it definitely fits what we've been talking about a lot on the Future Is Freelance over the years, that freelancing gives you that flexibility. It gives you the resilience and the speed to be able to say, all right, I can see where this is going. Let me look at what's the next best move. And I love the idea of the logical sort of end game of that is even where I live, maybe even which country
yes,
I choose to weather out a coming storm. Maybe I can just make a huge decision. And most employees can't do that for whatever reason.
Exactly.
They might have a remote employer who's flexible, but you might not be able to just up sticks and go and live somewhere where your currency is worth more locally and so on. So,
right.
Some excellent ideas in there. Not just practical ideas, but I think that mindset shift of
flexibility, resilience.
I'm free, I'm flexible. Yep.
And also, I'll be okay. That's also okay to think. Everything will be okay. I'll be okay. I'm flexible.
Right.
It's not, things are bad, but I can handle this.
Yeah, that's another very good mindset to cultivate as a freelancer, I think, in any discipline. And I like the idea of your exercise of working out your net worth, because even if it's going down, it does encourage you to think more broadly about the range of different things you have on your side and in your corner. Rather, I think it's easy as freelancers to get caught up in, I didn't bill enough this month, or I've lost this client. And that's all I can see is that gap at the moment. Whereas you might not actually be thinking that I have this going for me and I have that asset in another country that I don't really think about or whatever. And
and they're all compounding.
I maybe start there. Yes. Things like if you have a property or something like that, it's all there working for you, where you're scrabbling around after the next gig. That will help with the mindset of, I'll get through this. That there's still stuff going on, or, I've had COVID and I haven't been able to work for 3 weeks and, oh my God. But, they might still have something going on in your investments that you're not thinking about, and things you could cash in if you had to in order to get through. So, looking beyond the crisis then, and hopefully to calmer seas ahead. And when we're all coming out the other side of this, what are you excited about for the future?
I'm really excited to have people the flexibility to move around and do more of the stuff that they do and still maintain work. Still be able to do work remotely and be sustainable financially for themselves. So combining these two, having more people spending more time with their families just because they work from home or from anywhere on the planet, and traveling together. So these are the things that I love, and I'm glad that more and more people can do that.
Brilliant. So I think that's a really optimistic note for us to wrap up on. Whatever is going on in the short term, these trends of remote work, of being able to connect and get online from anywhere, being able to collaborate across distance and across time, none of that's going anywhere. We'll have Shlomo to help us with all his tools and resources to manage our finances through it and have those end goals to look forward to. So I think the future's looking pretty good at the moment. The optimistic future is freelance. So Shlomo, thank you so much for joining us on this call today. I really appreciate the wisdom and insight that you've shared.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for hosting.
You've been listening to the Future Is Freelance podcast, brought to you by Zolo.io, who offer compliance, taxation, invoicing, and admin solutions for fiercely independent solopreneurs across the globe. From simply getting paid to launching a full EU-based limited company, Solo has you covered, thanks to Estonian e-residency and a superb suite of streamlined business software. If you enjoyed the show, please like, rate, and comment, and subscribe to our feed wherever you get your podcasts.